In my last tutorial, I touched on a subject at the very end about line proximity, which, yeah, how close the lines are together. And I really wanted to expand on that because I found in the last, I think in 2020 is when I really started focusing on how close my lines were together, and that made a huge difference between between then and now. So I have an older piece in front of me and I have a newer piece in front of me, and you can really see the difference between the two in terms of how close the lines are and how it impacts the overall look of the drawing. So I thought we would talk about that for a minute, and then I would do a little bit of a demonstration to show how it can really play into filling out a piece and making it look a lot more movement, as well as just making it softer. And yeah, we'll get into that after the fact. So I'm going to turn this around and we're going to look at these. Here are the two pieces that I've picked. This one, I forgot to look. This one is from, I didn't date it. This one's probably from about 2019, 2018, and this one's from last year. So you can really see a huge difference in these lines versus these lines, and how full this one looks versus this one. It's not to say that spacing out your lines is a bad thing. It's just how it plays into itself. I've used stuff like this before to make it a little bit more chaotic and spread out. But I really find that this, where it's so many lines so close together, can make it look the way I want it to. So that's mostly it. Like, this is how I want my pieces to look now versus this. Not to say that I wouldn't go back to this, but I haven't. I'm going to zoom in on the older piece, and we're going to look at this, and then we're going to zoom in on that, and we're going to look at that too. I really wanted to show this portion because it's open, it's wide, it's like, there's movement to it, but it's much more chaotic and doesn't have really good direction, at least in my mind. But this is how I started out. This is all experimentation. You just figure out what you like and you go from there. So I don't want to pass any judgment on anybody. That's my biggest thing, because like, your style is your own. You do however you perceive this and execute it in your own way is your own way, and that's fantastic. I want people to know that I just want to support however you do your own line artwork, and it's beautiful. This is not how I want my pieces to be anymore, and that's just me. That's my style, and that's how I do things. So looking at this one in here, much more open. These just seem like they don't have the best like movement in and out with each other. They don't conjoin nicely. There's like, it just feels choppy, at least to me. But you can see how it can make a very chaotic and it can be kind of fun. For like a coloring book or something, this would be great to fill in these larger shapes with their own individual colors. And I've done stuff like that before in the past, where you leave the pattern open a bit and then you can fill it in with different colors side by side, and that will give dimension, contrast, like a mountain. Do one side of your mountain lighter and then the other side of your mountain darker, and the light source will be coming from one direction, and it makes more sense when you can see it in person. But that's kind of the thought, that you can make shadows easier and whatnot with that. I'm going to move this piece over next to it a little bit, and we'll be able to see that contrast. Yeah. So again, looking at these two, it's night and day difference between this and that. But again, how I started. Yeah, it's just crazy. I look at these every once in a while, and I'm like, wow, I've gotten to a point where I feel like this is me, and it's good. It's not to say that this isn't me. It's just not me anymore. So it plays a large part in being able to make waves and folds and how things play in with each other to get closer lines. Yeah, you just get them as close as possible without them touching, and it will dramatically increase the amount of folds and waves that appear. I'm going to do a demo on this, bringing your lines really, really close together. I'll see if I can do this anymore. I don't think I can very well, where it's more chaotic. I don't think it's within my ability, which is funny to say. But yeah, I'll do a demo, and it also, being able to get these lines super close together also has to do with how big the pen point, the nib is, because the smaller you go, the more lines you can fit into a smaller area. And the bigger you go, the more spread out they have to be. Case in point, this down here, these are much farther apart than these are, but these are still pretty dang close. So I'll put these away, and I will bring out a piece of paper, and I will show a little bit of this. All right, so I have 3 pens here. I have a 0.1 millimeter, or sorry, a 1 millimeter nib, a 0.5 millimeter nib, and a 0.2 millimeter nib. And I thought I would show what they kind of look like, going from big to small. And that way we can get an idea of how close lines can be, proximity, that sort of thing, and kind of, what they look like. Yeah, more or less just what they look like. So I think I'll try to do a little bit over here, and then do a little bit over here, and then a little bit over here for each one. And that way we can see a nice separation between all of them. So starting down over here, this is the largest pen tip, the 0.1, or sorry, the 1 millimeter pen tip. I'm just going to draw a line with a little curve to it, and then I'm going to build off of it. So that's a big, it's a big pen tip. I usually don't go this big anymore. Like this is, I like to do smaller pen nibs. So we're going to try to keep the pattern really, really close together. While I'm doing this, I'm just thinking of how to make a piece, how to make this more filled in, more complete. And like right now, this is looking good. This is looking good. Right here is a little choppy and not quite as nice. And this down here could be filled in a little bit more. That's just the way I'm seeing it. So I'm going to try to do that as best I can. I'm going to try to follow this pattern and lead it into itself again. I'm doing that thing where I build the pattern out, and then I'm going to flip it on itself right here, and that causes that fold over curl wave. And it's okay to do a little dip in and have it touch itself. Nothing wrong with that, because then you can use that to make a new shape. I do that pretty regularly. With a larger pen tip, it's a lot easier to get little choppy bits here and there, because you've got a broader surface. It's just easier for it to leave those little choppy bits. And that's one reason why I don't like bigger pen nibs, is because I have to go over some sections and fill it in and smooth it out a little bit more. One of the reasons, not the biggest one. I just like a smaller pen nib because it can get finer pattern. So that's what I will do here. I'm going to go on to the 0.5 millimeter pen tip. So just by comparison, this is this is the 1 millimeter one. Pretty big. And then this is the 0.5. Yeah. 1.5. Not a huge difference to the naked eye here. It is there, but it's just not drastic. Once we get to the 0.2, that'll be a big difference. Okay, so the 0.5 millimeter, the 0.5. I'm gonna do that here. Oh, actually, there, labeled. Okay, next, right here, I'm gonna do kind of the same, similar thing. Ooh, that wasn't great. Okay, that feels better. All right, resume. Got some, decent things to build off of here. I wanted to try to make kind of a similar shape to the other one. And already you can see how much finer these are in comparison. It's just huge difference. Big pattern, little pattern. Bringing this over again right there, that gave it a nice wave. And now we're going to do the same down here. I don't feel it as necessary to do quite as much as the other pen, just because this is a lot finer, but it's still, I'm still going to go through and do a bit. And I'm still thinking of how I can make things look more complete. This side is a little lacking. This isn't so bad. I might leave that alone altogether, but I'm going to build out right through here first. You can always make a line thicker. You can't make a line thinner. So I like, another reason to start out small. For me, at least. And it's always a good idea to take a second and look at the whole piece, at what you've done, and just see because my hand's covering up a portion of this right through here when I'm drawing. So it's good to stop, look at it, and make sure that it's, going the direction you want. Sometimes I do that and I forget, and then I take my hand away and I'm like, oh, well, oopsie. All right, so this is 0.5. Okay. You can see comparison much bigger, much broader. It feels to me like it's not flowing in and out of itself. It feels very much like I planned all of that, and I didn't. Like, I put one line down on the paper, and that's all the planning that I did. This, it's like, where did you start? Where is that first line? This one I can pretty much pick it out. Almost. It's like right through here. Yeah, you can see that. And we can go back and look and see how that one started. I'll try to cut it right next to this. But this one, I know it was like an S shape, and I know this portion right here, that's part of the original because I built off of that, and there's a bunch right there, but I have no clue in here. Well, right there because I made a mistake, but it's a lot harder to discern what's happening, or not what's happening, where it started. It all feels very complete. It folds in on itself. It's very nice. So now we're going to compare the point. Looking at the wrong camera. I'm going to look at the 0.2 millimeter pen tip, the nib, versus the 1 millimeter nib. There's the 1 again. And then large difference. I mean, it's like night and day difference between those two. Huge difference. Okay. cat behind me. Let's see if she decides to be naughty or if she goes and sits in her bed. Yeah? Oh. Yeah? Really? What's up? Yeah? Are you gonna sit in your bed? Huh? Oh, you're just gonna perch right there? Okay. Okay. 0.2 millimeter. I'm gonna do that right here. I'm gonna do kind of a similar-ish shape. Yeah, and we'll fill it in and see how it looks. That was a little longer. That's okay. And again, this is about half the size as the last one. I can put so many lines in the same space versus the other two, the larger two. Oh, really? Yeah? I don't know if I believe you. She's gonna do something naughty to get attention. Yep. Cat break. Amaru, are you stuck? Back to it. She's comfortably making biscuits. There we go. Hopefully she just passes out. That'd be nice. Okay, so back to this. You can see large difference, and it just flows so nicely and has a lot more dimension. It's easier to pick up little waves and little bumps in this because it is such a fine tip. So breathing heavy, talking, or even if you had too much coffee, a heartbeat can be picked up, little tremors or whatever can be picked up. So sometimes while I'm doing this, I have to remember, because I start holding my breath and then I start feeling stressed. I have to remember to breathe. Just take time, relax, find your breath. Right here, I'm going to fill in just a little bit more, and I think I'll call that side done. One, two, three, across the board. Big differences between all three. Much finer, a lot more happening. Much bigger, a lot less happening. All of it looks, I really like the way all of these look. This one not as much as the other two, but that's just because I'm gearing more towards this the more I draw. So looking at these, I made a note a minute ago about canvas size and pen nib size. So sometimes you kind of gear your pen tip to the canvas. So for something this size, I was enjoying these a lot more. So I'd probably use, can you focus? You're gonna focus? I would probably use that's good enough. I would use these two or a 3.3 millimeter nib with 0.2 and 0.1 for this size of canvas because it just feels good. For something a lot bigger, I would use a larger nib size. Sometimes she pushes buttons. No, nope, nope. Okay, did she push any buttons? No, good. Cats, man. It's a journey. Get back into the train of thought. Canvas size, pen nib size. So for something this size, which is small, this is an 8 by 8, it looks like. I would use something smaller to match the size of the canvas. Bigger, go bigger, because you can. I have aspirations to do large pieces with just very fine nibs to, just make as much dimension and fun as possible. But it's very important to know that the size and how close you can get with the pen stroke. It's pretty important to be able to see how much movement and how far you can push your patterns together. So line proximity has a huge thing to do with that. Let's do maybe just a little bit where I go farther apart. Maybe I'll grab a little, one of these guys. Okay, so I've got one of these. So I'm going to use my 0.5 millimeter pen tip, and I'm just going to I'm going to follow my previous tutorials, and I'm going to make a shape. And a lot of times, so that would lead into another shape or another shape. So I'm going to fill it in. And I'm going to try to space it out. Yeah, okay, this is how I used to do it. I can still do this. Yeah, so something like that. Huge difference between huge difference between this and that. You can just see that side looks really choppy to me, and I don't like it as much. This is all it's very choppy. That's just it. It doesn't flow very nicely, but that's just, from how I've grown over the last 5-6 years. I'll add another shape in here. Yeah, it's just a different ball game, altogether different ball game. But you can see how spreading out that pattern really impacts the overall dimension. This is fine, nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't flow as nicely. It's not as coherent. And these guys look so much better than that, in my opinion. It's okay. This is totally fine. Again, no judgment if this is what you want. I'm really happy for anybody that wants to do this, because there is obviously, because I've done it for years. I started with this and I continued with that. So it's very important to know that there is nothing wrong with this. And even if you continued with this and this is all you did for the rest of your artistic career, that's also just fine. Nothing wrong with that. It's just this is how I've progressed and how I want my pieces to look. And I know I said that earlier, but I wanted to reiterate, no judgment. That's how it is. But if you want your lines to flow a lot better, get them as close as you can. Just push it a little bit closer each and every time. You don't have to go for broke right away. Just slowly dial it in. Baby steps. Yeah. Slowly step your way towards getting your lines really close together, and you'll start getting more flow in your pieces just naturally. It's how the whole style goes if you continue that path. So that is that's line proximity in its most basic of forms. There's a lot more that I could talk about here, but I thought I would start with something like this and then lead into other stuff. thank you all so much for watching and enjoying my content. If you want to support me, don't forget to become a member. Find me on other social media. Like, subscribe, comment, do all of that stuff. If you have any questions, you just let me know. Post it in the comments below. Yeah, I would love to hear any sort of thought that you may have that I could add to my list of content to create. This one was a little bit just on the fly because last video I felt like I didn't touch on it well enough. So this is just to follow up and continue that thought process from the last tutorial, which the last tutorial was waves and folds basics. Yeah. So if you want to see that, go back and watch that tutorial. I can post a link in the description below. I will post a link to the pens that I'm using as well. These guys, Molotow, it's a fantastic brand. I've been using a lot of Sakura because they sponsored me and sent me a bunch of pens. So Sakura, I will also post a link to that. Again, thank you so much for watching. It means so much that so many people turn out each and every video that I make. So we'll see you in the next one.